Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start the class with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhava Swaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. अस्तो मा सद्गम्य तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गम्य मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गम्य ओम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि ओम शांति शांति शांति. So we are on Chapter 2 and Section 2 also. So we've ended our last week's class with verse number 6. And this is a dialogue between Yamraj, Lord of Death, and a young boy, Nachiketa, who is only 8 or 9 years old. And he asked to know the Atma Gyan. What happens after we die? He wants to know their subjective experience from the mouth of Lord of Death. So in verse number 6, Lord of Death says, the way to the hereafter is not apparent to the ignorant man who is childish, befooled by the glamour of wealth. He thinks this is the only world. There is no other. Thus he falls again and again under my sway. So that means a person who is childish or who is ignorant, okay, who is enchanted with this Maya, this Prakriti, the charms of this Prakriti, he says, cannot know. Okay. So in a way, he is praising Nachiketa because Nachiketa did not fall for any of the temptations given by Lord of Death. So he is admiring him, and we'll see that in next few verses. So let's start the class with the verse number 7 today. Shravanaye api bahuvi yana labhyaha shrinvanta api bahava yam na vidhu ascharya vaktaha kushlaha asya labdaha ascharya gyata Kushal Anushishtaha. Shravanaye, to hear. Api means even. Bahu bhi, by many. Ya means who. Over here, who means the Atma. Na labhya, not available. Shrinvantaha, having heard. Api means even. Bahava means many. Yam means whom. Na means not. Vidhu. Vidhu means have known. Second line, Ascharya, wonderful. Vaktaha, the teacher. Kushlaha, proficient. Asya means to this. Labdaha, the recipient. That means the disciple. Ascharya, wonderful. Gyata, who comprehends. Kushal Anushishtaha, taught by a proficient perceptor, a teacher or a guru. So Lord of Death says, he of whom many are not able to hear. So that means the soul, the self, the Atma. He of whom many are not able to even to hear. The recipient, many, even having heard of him, do not comprehend. So in other words, not many people want to talk about Atma, want to know about Atma, the soul. And people who are even hearing about it, very few can comprehend it. Wonderful is a teacher when found who is able to teach the self. Wonderful is he, the disciple, the pupil, who comprehends the self when taught by an able teacher. So Lord of Death, he continues his thinking out aloud. And the same kind of a language was used in Bhagavad Gita by Rishi Vyasa also. In fact, some people say that Kathopanishad seems to have been the main inspiration for Rishi Vyasa to produce that immortal Bhagavad Gita. You can look at this in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, verse number 3, similar verse. So it is indeed a well-accepted fact in all the Indian schools of philosophy that this higher transcendental knowledge can be contemplated only by select few. Why? Because this is something we cannot see. This is not gross. We cannot feel. And we have to do some preliminary sadhana also. And often people slip back when they have to do a long sadhana. Okay, because temptations are many. So this does not mean that this Brahma Vidya or the knowledge of the self is a secret knowledge to be preserved somewhere, only given to some people. No. It really means that fit disciples who are ready to hear this are very few. So it's only the fittest one that will ever come to peep into it. How many people they have a Bhagavad Gita or the Upanishads in their homes? And even if they have the books at home, how many of them really open it? Take enough time to look at it, what's written in there. Because interest is not there. And if they can open it also, how many of us can really understand what the deep meaning behind these words are? So in that sense, Yamaraj is saying that. So the secrecies of the secret document, we don't have to guard it. This is not an atom bomb secret. It's a science of truth, not born from the human mind and intellect. Yeah, it is that deep. So this science, it has a potency to change our lives. So even when heard, the theme of Brahma Vidya is not easy to be understood. And thus, us students, we need to cultivate inner purity and also the intellectual sharpness to understand. So that means a steady mind and acuteness of our intellect. And they are not accidental happenings. These two are a product of continued and conscious yogic living. So it's not only 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour of practice. All day long, we got to see, is our lifestyle in tune with what we are learning? We cannot just have a bucket of water and add few drops of or a glass of milk and assume that the whole bucket will be milk. It won't be. We got to just see, keep an eye on our mind. Is it steady? Keep an eye on the intellect. Is it alert? So that's why in our Vedas also, the first part of all 4 Vedas is Karma Kand. And the second part is upasana. So this is the principle which these rishis, they had it in mind. For a lesser adhikari or less fit aspirant, Karam Kand is a discipline. Upasana is a discipline, meditation, so that mind is steady and intellect is sharp. Only then these great ideas of truth and immortality, heard directly from a guru, are well digested in our intellectual reflection. And only then there will be a strong impressions in our mind. Okay, so it's not only listening from a guru, but we got to have the field prepared also. If you throw beautiful seeds into a ground which is not even prepared properly, which has rocks in it and weeds in it, can we expect those seeds to even sprout? Or if they sprout, can they become proper plants? Can they give the fruits and further seeds? So the same thing we need to do. This Jimraj is saying that student has to be fit. Then he says, wonderful is the person who is able to teach. If fit students are rare, real masters who can deliver this kind of a knowledge are also rare. A true teacher or a guru is one who is not only a God man in his own subjective experience, but he should be a great master of the scriptures also. Again, Bhagavad Gita says the same thing. Those are the two qualifications for a guru. Should have the experience, subjective experience, and should have the knowledge of the scriptures also. So well versed in the Shastras and well established in the God consciousness. That's why true teacher is a wonder and it's a rare. And wonderful is he who can comprehend. Because the reason for that, this is the chance to hear is rare. Even when heard, people can digest and understand. Very few people can do that. So that's a rarer. So then third thing he says, to be able to find a master is also difficult. So Lord of Death says, only the luckiest one comes to experience Godhood in this very birth while listening to the teacher. That doesn't mean it's none. It doesn't exist, but very few, and we can understand that. We see that around us. How many people are interested in something like this? So do not conclude that if it's rare and difficult, none of us shall ever succeed. Do not become disappointed. No, we can definitely reach there. Every day we sit over here in this class. We have the liking for this. And if we keep on practicing, keep on doing what we are told to do, we will have a subjective experience also. Because this is the only truth. So no true seeker has a right to be pessimistic. We got to be consciously be optimistic. Consciously. So never doubt, but sincerely strive and achieve. Okay? Na naren avren proktaha eshaha suvigyeyaha bahuda chintamanaha ananya prokte gati atra na asti aniyan hi atarkyam anupramanat. This is verse number 8. Na means not, naren, by a man, human being. Avren, the inferior intellect. Proktaha, instructed. Eshaha, this, self. Suvigeya, easy to be known. Bahuda, in various ways. Chintemanaha, to be thought of. Ananya, not by other. Proktehe, when taught. Gati, way or the goal. Atra means here, na means not. Asti means is. Anyan, subtler. He atakaryam, not to be argued. Atarak, not to be argued. Anupramanat, then the subtlest. So again, Yamraji is talking. He says this is self. When taught by a man of inferior intellect, Avrain, Proktaha, is not easy to be known, as it to be thought of in various ways. But when it is taught by another means a superior preceptor who is one with the Brahma, who beholds no difference, that means there's no other way concerning it. So that means if a teacher has a full understanding of it and experience of it, this is it, that kind of a conviction, no other way concerning it, the self being subtler than the subtlest and is beyond argumentation. Because if he starts arguing this or that about this subject, that is an inferior intellect. So that means faith is not there. So if teacher doesn't have a faith, and that kind of a teacher is teaching us, then of course we'll have doubts too. But if teacher is established in this truth firmly, that kind of a teacher, he says, is superior. Okay. So because we have already found that neither a mere book knowledge nor a mere experience can be complete qualification. Both are needed. Because if a teacher has the experience, but teacher cannot teach. Because a student like us, we want the teacher to come to our level. And with the help of the scripture, they come down to our level to explain it to us so that we can go back and dig it out again and again and again. So that's why he says that both the qualification when a teacher has, that is a superior teacher, a perfect guru. And this kind of a guru can serve the world at large. Because if a teacher does not have the subjective experience, teacher can again fall under the Maya too. How many students I have, how much money I can get, how much name and fame I will have. But if a teacher has the subjective experience, the teacher will not slip. Then at the same time, teacher has the scriptural knowledge also to convey the message. So that's why he says that these both are needed. So if the Atma is taught by a guru who is free from the notion of duality, can really explain what this absolute is, and the student will not have any doubt. And when the teacher says the Atma, which is none other than the disciple's own self, is taught, then there cannot be any doubt. Our own practice we need to do, but if a teacher tells us with this clarity that Atma in me and Atma in you is the same, and this is the same as God, there's no higher or lower Atma. With this kind of a conviction, when teacher says, then of course students like us will practice. And with our own practice, see, Guru did the practice for himself. We need to do our own practice, but we got to have faith in the words of the Guru and the words of the scriptures. And this word gati over here, it can mean passage. So when it means the passage, then that means when the Atma, not distinct from the self, has been taught, there shall be no more traveling in the sansar. This is like I have reached the goal. And then Ananya Prokte Gati. And the interpretation of this Ananya Prokte Gati is when Brahma Vidya is given by one who is himself well established in truth, the consciousness, there will be no non-comprehension. Ananya Prokte Gati. There's no other explanation for it. So in other words, there's no doubt, and the student can just wholeheartedly walk on the path. Verse number 9. Na eshaha tarken mati apneya proktaha anyen ev sugyanaye preshta yam tvam apaha satya dhriti batasihi tvadrek na bhuyat na chiketaha prishtaha. Na eshaha, not this. Tarken, by argumentations. Tark, mati, knowledge. And this knowledge is about the Atma. Apneya, attainable. Prokta, said. Anyen, by another. Ev means indeed. Sugyanai, by easy comprehension. Paresht, dear one. Yam means that. Tvam means you. Apaha, have obtained. Satya dhriti, fixed in truth. Batasihi, you are. Tvadrik, like you. Na means to us. Bhuyat, may he be. Nachiketaha. Prashtaha, the inquiries. Yamraj is saying the knowledge which you have obtained is not obtainable by argumentation. Okay? Often we think that we can argue about it and we can know something. This is not about intellectual argumentation. It is easy to understand it, oh dearest, when taught by a teacher who beholds no difference. No difference between means between oneself and another. A guru who has had the subjective experience will know that Atma is part of Paramatma and the same Atma is everywhere too. So this is what it means, that taught by a teacher who beholds no difference between oneself and another. And we read about this in Bhagavad Gita also, that a jnani is who sees the same in a cow, a dog, a Brahman, or even a dog eater. The same Atma in all of them. And this Guru is like that. Guru is a jnani. Then he says, you are fixed in truth. May we have, O Nachiketas, an inquirer like you. Again, he's almost choked with appreciation for his great disciple. Because every teacher, every guru wants disciples like this, who are goal-oriented. They do not get tempted with the lower temptations. So he is complimenting him many different ways over here. But the very first thing he is saying that truth is not a theme that can be reached or understood by using our intellect. Intellect can take us only so far. Intellect is needed. That's why we do this Vadhyay. But the land of truth lies beyond the frontiers of our intellect and mind. Okay? We got to ultimately transcend the mind and the intellect. Because Atma is the director of the intellect and the mind. Mind and the intellect are just instruments. They cannot themselves come to discover the energy behind it. It's almost like no matter how smart we may be seeing with our eyes, but we cannot see our own eyes with our eyes. Somebody might say that, no, we can see our eyes in the mirror. But in the mirror, all we are seeing is a reflection. We are not seeing our eyes. We can have a 20/20 vision, but these eyes cannot see themselves. So similarly, the mind and the intellect cannot make truth an object. Atma is not an object. Self is not an object. Self is not about the analysis or observation. Self is the one which gives the power to the instrument which can analyze. Mind and the intellect. And the moment the truth is detached from the observing mind and analyzing intellect, the poor mind and intellect, they become inert. Okay, so this self-realization is not an impossibility. It's not impossible. We are supposed to realize ourselves, but we got to do it properly. So reaching this state of perfection is accomplishment of the goal. And Yamaraj is saying, that person is great. That person is great. You are great because you are after that goal. Okay. So, and requirement for ourselves, I mean, how do we become Nachiketa? We got to see what qualities Nachiketa had. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He had the qualification of Vairagya. He had the qualification of Vivek. He had those qualifications, Sham, Dam, Uprati, all of them. Tidiksha, he stood there for 3 days and 3 nights, waiting. How many times we wait for God to just accept our flowers or our food? Have we ever tried? Next birthday, just sit down in front of the temple. Say, God, I am not going to eat and I'm not going to get up until you eat. I promise you, God will eat. You will see the disappearance of the food and the flowers. But we are always in a hurry. Hurry to run into the world. Try it one time. The New Year's is coming, do it on New Year's. Or Thanksgiving. Just choose a day and try it. This kind of a sadhana. Because the requirement is staying persistent and make sure that there is an inner purification. If once this is gained, you will see that actual flight has started. So this particular verse concludes with a prayer actually, rising from the bottom of the heart of Yamaraj. May we have many inquirers like you. This is a prayer. Every great teacher, every guru wants many. And guru always wants the student to even go ahead of him. So this is the ardent cry of all true teachers who are blessed with this kind of a zeal, the missionary zeal, because they know that this will be spread, this kind of a knowledge, by a student who has this kind of a devotion, this kind of a conviction. Then he says, Janami aham shevadhi iti anityam nahi adhruvai prapyate hi dhruvam tat tataha mea nachiketaha agni chitaha anityehe dravyehe praptvan asmihi nityam. See, the writing style is different. These verses, they don't rhyme like Bhagavad Gita does, or the way Bhaj Govindam did. Okay, these are different writing style. So Janami, I know. Janami means no, aham means I. So I know. Janami aham. Shevadhi, treasure. And this treasure means which is a result of the karmas. Iti means thus. Anityam, transient. Na means not, he means verily. Adhruve, by the non-eternal. Adhruva. See, dhruv is eternal. Adhruva, non-eternal. Prapyate is obtained. He means for dhruvam, eternal. That means that. Second line, tataha, therefore, maya, by me, nachiketaha, agni, fire, chitta, propitiated, anityehe, with perishable, dravye, things, praptvan asmi, I have obtained, nityam, eternal. So Yamaraj is saying, know that the treasure is transient. So that means the result of all the karmas is transient. For that which is eternal is not obtained by things which are not eternal. So cause and effect. If the cause is eternal, non-eternal, the effect will be non-eternal too. Therefore, the Nachiketa's fire has been propitiated by me with the perishable things, and I have obtained the eternal. This eternal over here is relatively eternal, not the absolute eternal, what he's talking about. So on one hand, he is paying tribute to his disciple. On the other hand, he is comparing his own past foolishness. His own, because he is a lord of death. That means he did the karmas, sure good karmas. With those karmas, he attained that seat. He became a devata. But the devata, that seat is not eternal. It's sure it's a long lasting. Until the pralya, he is the Yamraj. But then second time around, there will be another Yamraj. So this is what he is saying over here, that even though I did the tapasya, I did the prayers. So he says Nachiketa Agni. That means I did, because the Nachiketa Agni, he gave the name now to that kind of a sacrifice, which will give you the heavenly abode. So he says, I did that, I got heavenly abode, but this is temporary. So non-eternal karmas can give us only the non-eternal results. So karma is done with the help of things which are in themselves perishable. That is the point he's making. So anything that is made or resulted out of things perishable can produce a fruit or a result which is perishable. Okay, it's almost like a mass of mud. can create the things which look like mud. So mud cannot create gold. Only gold can create gold. So all these offices, all these positions, whether there's a Indra, Sun, Moon, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, or Yamraj, they are devatas, but their positions are not eternal. Those are appointments, padvis they are called. So in order to enjoy the fruits there, they have come to identify themselves to be these office bearers. Okay, so like a Yamraj, he is a office bearer of a death. That's why we call him Lord of Death. So in his mortal days, that means as a human being, when he was a human being in his mortal days, he performed these yagyas and come to adorn this chair of Yamraj. Okay, so this is the fact he is stating over here. So he says, I have obtained this. It is only a relative eternity. As an officer of death, which will be sure it's unbroken till the deluge, the pralaya. After that, somebody else will be there. Okay, so the summary of this verse is that he is saying that you are so blessed. You have the vivek, you have the vairagya. You are not asking for any heavenly abode or any kind of a heavenly position. Okay, you just want to know, to have a subjective experience and want to know about the Atma. Okay. Number 11. Kamasye aptimam jagataha pratishtham krato anantyam abhyasye parma satotam mahat arugayam pratishtham drishtva dhrityaha dhira nachiketa atyartakshi. Kamasya, of desires, kamana. Apitam, the fulfillment. Jagata, of the world. Pratishtham, foundation. Krato, of the sacrifice. Anantyam, endless. Abhyasya, of fearlessness. Parm, the other shore. Satomam, that's like a praise. Satotam. Mahat, great. Arugayam, it's like a extended beyond. Arugayam, widely extended sphere. Pratishtham, abode of the soul. Drishtva, having seen. Dhritya, with firm resolve. Dhiraha, a wise person. Nachiketaha, atyartrakshihi, you have rejected. The end of all desires, the foundation of the world, the endless rewards of sacrifices, the other shore where there's no fear, the praiseworthy, the great and the wide extended sphere, and the abode of the soul, all these, though having seen and being wise, O Nachiketa, you have with firm resolve rejected them all. Okay, so this kind of a vairagya. So in a way, he's telling us, the students, to cultivate this level of vairagya. If you really want to experience the Atma, know it for sure, have a subjective experience. Are we qualified? Often we want to know, but we don't want to work on the qualification. We want to just have, what do they say? Have the pie and eat it too. Doesn't work like that. We got to have this qualification. So these are the qualities in an ideal disciple which deserve a full compliment. It's almost like a unending, inexhaustible compliments Yamaraj is giving to Nachiketa. So this end of all desires, foundation of the world, endless rewards, all this really means the Hiranyagaram. The Hiranyagaram is it's almost like for most of us, this is the goal. Just Hiranyagaram. We want to have more and more and more. Hiranyagaram, see, Hiranya means the gold, the golden womb. We get enchanted by this golden womb. So Lord Death is surprised here, seeing that his disciple is not tempted even by the subtlest of the joys available in the heaven. In the heaven. Because he told him you can have heavenly apsaras, heavenly music, heavenly food, heavenly life. So he was not tempted at all. There's a word urugayam. Urugayam in this verse. That means wide extended. This term is used in Rig Veda for Vishnu. For Vishnu and the wide glory of the early dawn. Urugayam. This is like a extended beyond our comprehension. And then he says, being intelligent, you have rejected them all, even Urugayam. I was giving you all so much, but you didn't fall for it. So it's like a clear compliment paid to the sense of discrimination, quality of the detachment, which Lord Death has noticed in his disciple. So the importance of a real guru we saw today, that is explained by Yamaraj. And importance of cultivating these qualities we saw. Often we think that we don't find a guru like that. But if we have qualities like a disciple, the guru appears. So we got to do our part. Keep on cultivating the qualities. And we know all the qualities now. We knew from Bhagavad Gita also, we knew from Narad Bhakti Sutra also, now we are learning from Kathopanishad also. Vivek Chudamani also the same qualities Adi Shankaracharya ji told us. Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampati and Mumukshutvam. These are the qualities. So our main effort should be cultivating these qualities. Guru will appear. Guru will appear, because sometimes we just get disheartened. How are we going to find a guru in this day and age, in Kali Yuga? But God says Guru will appear. When the student is ready, Guru appears. So we got to make an effort to prepare ourselves that when the Guru is standing in front of us, will Guru accept us or not as a student? When Guru gives us the test, just like a Lord of Death gave the test to Nachiketa, he passed. He passed each and every test so beautifully, the teacher keeps on complimenting him. So far, he has been complimenting. The real philosophy of this Upanishad hasn't started yet. It's only the preliminary. What do we need to do? Okay, so let's stop it here, because Thursday we do the meditation also, but before meditation we'll have some question answers too. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.